September 15th, 2008. The day the world stopped turning. In a matter of hours, the global financial system, the bedrock of modern civilization, vaporized. Trillions of dollars in wealth, gone. Retirement funds, erased. Families who played by the rules were left homeless, while the bankers who lit the match watched from their penthouse suites, sipping champagne as the fire burned below. It was a total betrayal of trust. The world realized that the money in their pockets wasn't real. It was just a promise, and that promise had been broken. But while the world was screaming, one person was working, alone, hidden in the digital shadows. While governments scrambled to print more money to patch the wound, this unknown entity was writing a code that would bleed the system dry. He wasn't protesting, he wasn't rioting, he was building a weapon. On October 31st, quietly, without fanfare, he released it. A 9-page document that proposed a terrifying idea. What if we didn't need banks? What if money couldn't be printed, seized, or censored? What if trust could be replaced by math? He called himself Satoshi Nakamoto. He gave the world Bitcoin, and then, just as his creation began to devour the financial world, he vanished. He didn't just step back, he evaporated. He left no fingerprints, no IP address, no face. He left behind a wallet containing 1 million Bitcoin, a treasure chest that sits untouched to this day. At its peak, that wallet was worth over $70 billion. Imagine having the power to buy small countries, yet never spending a single cent. Why? Is he a genius altruist who saved us from the banks? Is he a government psychological operation designed to track our money? Is he a criminal mastermind? Or is he dead? For 15 years, the smartest agencies on Earth, the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, have hunted him. They have analyzed his writing style, his sleep patterns, his code. They found nothing. This is not just a story about technology. This is a ghost story. It is the story of the most significant invention since the internet and the invisible man who pulled the trigger. We are going to track the digital footprints of a phantom. We are going to expose the clues he left behind, and we are going to answer the question that haunts the financial world. Who killed Satoshi Nakamoto, and why did he have to die for Bitcoin to live?
To understand the ghost, you have to understand the graveyard he was walking through. Late 2008. The banks were begging for bailouts, the public was burning with rage. And in a quiet corner of the internet, a mailing list for cypherpunks, a group of paranoid cryptographers obsessed with privacy, a message appeared. I've been working on a new electronic cash system that's fully peer-to-peer with no trusted third party. The reaction? Silence. Skepticism. Imagine standing in a burning building and whispering that you have a fire extinguisher made of math. Nobody listened. These people had seen digital currencies fail a dozen times before. DigiCash, eGold. They all died because they had a central leader, a head of the snake that the government could cut off. But Satoshi, he was different. On January 3, 2009, he mined the first block of Bitcoin, the Genesis block. But he didn't just write code, he buried a message inside it. This wasn't just a timestamp, it was a manifesto. It was a declaration of war against the modern banking system. He was telling us exactly why he was doing this. For the first few months, the network was a ghost town. It was just Satoshi and one other man, Hal Finney, a legendary coder who was fighting a losing battle against ALS, a disease that was slowly trapping him in his own body. While Hal's physical world was shrinking, his digital world was expanding infinitely. Satoshi sent Hal 10 bitcoins, the first transaction in history. Back then, they were worthless, literally $0. They were just magic internet money, a hobby, a proof of concept. Satoshi was polite, professional, but distant. He never talked about the weather, he never mentioned his family, he never complained about his job. He was a machine. And he knew something the rest of us didn't. He knew that if this worked, if this actually worked, the world would try to kill it. 2010, the year the toy became a weapon. Bitcoin was starting to leak out of the cypherpunk forums. It was being traded. People were using it to buy pizza. May 22nd, Laszlo Hanietz paid 10,000 bitcoins for 2 Papa John's pizzas. At today's value, that lunch cost him nearly $700 million. But innocence dies fast. In late 2010, the transparency organization WikiLeaks, led by Julian Assange, dropped a nuclear bomb on the U.S. government. They released classified cables exposing war crimes and diplomatic secrets. The reaction from the establishment was instant. Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, Bank of America, they all cut off WikiLeaks. They froze their accounts. They tried to starve them into silence. It was a financial blockade. So the internet looked for a loophole, and they found Bitcoin. PC World wrote an article. Could the WikiLeaks scandal lead to new virtual currency? For the Bitcoin community, this was their moment. This was the use case. Uncensorable money funding the uncensorable truth. They cheered. But Satoshi did not cheer. Satoshi was terrified. He wrote on the forum, "It would be nice to get this attention in any other context. WikiLeaks has kicked the hornet's nest, and the swarm is headed towards us." He knew Bitcoin wasn't ready. It was still a beta test. It was fragile. If the eye of Sauron, the full force of the U.S. government, the CIA, the NSA, looked at Bitcoin in 2010, they could have crushed it like a bug. He pleaded with WikiLeaks, "No, don't use it. You'll destroy us." But the genie was out of the bottle. The spotlight was swinging toward him. And for a man whose entire existence depended on remaining a ghost, the spotlight is a death sentence. The walls were closing in. Satoshi had been the benevolent dictator. He wrote the code, he fixed the bugs, he held the keys. But the pressure was becoming unbearable. Then came the final straw. Gavin Andresen, one of the lead developers working with Satoshi, made an announcement. He told the community he had accepted an invitation to visit the CIA. Gavin thought it was a good thing. He wanted to explain Bitcoin to the intelligence agency, to show them it wasn't a threat. But to Satoshi, a man who built a system explicitly to bypass these people, this was the end. December 12, 2010, Satoshi makes his final post on the forum. It wasn't a grand speech. It was about a software update, adding some limits to prevent spam. Mundane. Boring. And then silence. Months later, in April 2011, he sent a private email to another developer, Mike Hearn. Mike asked, "Are you planning on rejoining the community?" Satoshi's reply was short, chilling. "I've moved on to other things. It's in good hands with Gavin and everyone else. I've moved on." And just like that, the creator of the future of money walked out the door. He didn't sell his coins, he didn't cash out. He left over 1 million bitcoins in his wallets. At the time, it was worth a few $1,000,000, a nice retirement. Today, that wallet is worth over $70 billion. Think about the psychology of that. To watch your invention become the most valuable asset on Earth, to possess the wealth of a small nation, and never touch a dime. Never reveal your face, never claim the credit. Why? Was he killed? Did he die of natural causes? Or did he realize something profound? We have spent 15 years looking for him. Journalists chased an old man named Dorian Nakamoto through the streets of Los Angeles. He was innocent. A computer scientist named Craig Wright sued people claiming to be Satoshi. The courts called him a liar. We look for him because we are human. We want a face. We want a hero. But we are missing the point. Satoshi didn't disappear because he was afraid. He didn't disappear because he was done. He disappeared because he had to. If Satoshi was still here, he would be a liability. Governments would subpoena him. They would arrest him. They would force him to change the code. If Bitcoin had a leader, it could be corrupted. By vanishing, he made Bitcoin invincible. You cannot subpoena a ghost. You cannot arrest a myth. You cannot pressure a man who does not exist. His greatest invention wasn't the blockchain. It wasn't the cryptography. His greatest invention was his own disappearance. Satoshi Nakamoto gave the world a gift, and the price of that gift was himself. He is the unknown genius, the digital Prometheus who stole fire from the banks, gave it to the people, and then accepted his punishment. Silence. Forever.